Today on Technado, we're talking about Microsoft. We've got the re-release of the October 2018 update. Got some other stories, including a sweet revenge against package thieves. That's all coming up on Technado, starting right now. Hello and welcome to Technado. I'm your host, Peter Van Rysdam, and as you can see, somehow I'm in Don's chair, and over in my chair is Mr. Justin Dennison from ITProTV. Justin, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Peter. And this is your chair, or are you sure
Normally.
this isn't my chair?
Well, it's your chair today, but
okay.
as you pointed out, this could be the first time that we've had two gingers on Technado at one time, so it's groundbreaking.
It could get a little out of hand. You know, for us, it gets a little wild.
Yeah, it's the first soulless episode.
It is
of Technado so far, because Don is has a great soul. he's got great soul. Yeah, well, he's a Detroit Red Wings fan, so maybe he's got that Motown thing going on. But anyway, we don't have that. We're not going to sing today, but we do have some great news to get to. It's kind of end of the year here. We're in the holiday season, so we thought, let's recap some stories going on. And I don't know, maybe we'll talk about our big predictions for next year. I don't know. I haven't told Justin that, but we're going to maybe do that a little bit later. So let's get right to it, though, today. Our first article comes from Tom's Hardware, the Windows 10 October 2018 update. But you're saying October. This is December 18th when this article was written, but this is something I think we've talked about in the past, that Microsoft has put out this update, pulled it back, put it out, pulled it back. So this is the re-release of the Windows 10 October 2018 update. So why does something like this happen?
This is one of those things, hearing just sitting out in the office area, I can hear Mike and Cherokee going, "Oh, I need to oh, it's not available anymore. Oh, it's back. Oh, it's broke." This is something that there's just these small bugs, from what I understand from them, that are just, kind of causing issues. So then it's pulled from being downloaded or patched. And then, I don't know if I would call it the October 2018 update. Maybe I should have just saved face and been like, "Oh, well, we got a new December update. I know it's out of cycle," because I think they have very predictable release cycles. But yeah, it was just breaking things. How does it happen? There's deadlines. You got to get things working. You implement a feature. It looks good, and then some user comes along and goes, "Click. Oh, it's broke." So weird.
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft's kind of got a history of that, though, with their naming, where you've got, hey, we're all on that newest server, Windows 2016, like putting those kind of numbers on things. It's like every time a rapper yells out the year, like 1994 in a song, you're like, that was a mistake. You immediately aged this song. But going back to some of the problems, it says here that the original flaws that led to it being pulled involved a file system bug and issues with Intel audio drivers. Then a separate file system flaw was discovered. I wonder if fixing the first one broke the second one there. And then incompatibilities with certain AMD graphics cards or Trend Microsoftware, iCloud, and Intel display drivers that led to them blocking the updates. So just a whole host of problems.
That's one of those that was a lot of display driver video card issues. Just like, I updated and my screen's blank. I can't really surf the internet. Or I can't even go to roll back. You're just like, what do I do now?
Well, it's like if you've ever changed your phone to Italian or something accidentally, you're like, all right, now I just have to muscle memory that this thing in the corner that ends in an A is probably back. I don't know.
Well, I'm glad we're making fun of various groups there. It is muscle memory. It is when I've done that on my phone, or someone's done it as a prank, right? That's why I have a passcode now. You're like, I go into settings, but the settings change so often, like how they're arranged, like the system preferences. Sometimes I just or I get on another computer and I go, which one of these, like, give me a flow chart where I click to go figure this out. But unfortunately, if you were vulnerable to one of those issues with the graphics cards or the displays, it's not really something you could do. I guess you could try to do it by thought, be like the mouse all the way down to the lower left hand. There's a start button. Now type control panel. I hope it works.
Or those times when your mouse or trackpad would break and you'd have to do things all with the shortcuts. That's probably your better bet if you're just trying to go that way. But, No thanks. I think that's when you just throw the computer in the dumpster and you start over. But unfortunately, well, first of all, I want to apologize to all Italians out there for that horrible Mario. Next time I will do Irish. I'll pick the Irish.
Yes,
still English.
Yeah,
but, I mean, there's Irish. But
yeah, it's Gaelic, right?
Yeah, I don't think that's prevalent on
it is
Windows machines. Yeah. But anyway, this was not the only bad news for Microsoft this week. We've got another article here from Engadget letting us know that Microsoft patches Internet Explorer flaw being used to hijack PCs. And I'm going to just jump out here with a hot take. If you're using Internet Explorer, then you deserve all of the hijacking that comes your way.
One would think that. I remember working at previous places, and they're like, we're still using Internet Explorer 8. This sounds like a long time ago. This was like a couple of years ago.
Wednesday.
It was this past Tuesday. And I would ask them, why are you still using old versions of Internet, or just for that matter, Internet Explorer at all? And they're like, we have software or web apps that are written for that browser in particular, and so we have to use them because we paid all this money. I'm like, but it's kind of an issue, right? This is, from what I've read, this is a 0-day attack. And so, boom, that could have been bad. I know this is very common in corporations and government institutions. Could have been a horrible kind of time.
Yeah, grandparents everywhere could have been susceptible to their
to
photos
the
being taken.
14 toolbars and I don't know.
They already have that.
Bitcoin or something. I don't know.
Yeah, this it's kind of the same on the flip side when you see you'll have people say, we have to use this program because it only works in that. And that, I mean, shame on the developer for kind of taking an easy way out on that. I think it was when we switched insurance or something here recently. You had to go through the sign-up process, and it said only use Firefox for this, and it's just that's just so lazy.
Yeah, well, not only lazy. The browser wars cause some huge issues
bad.
there when you're building web apps. So I can understand that. I've actually had requests again decently, like fairly recently, where they're like, can you make this work on Internet Explorer 6? And I was like, no, that's like 15 years out of date.
Yeah.
Number one, I don't even know if it has a reasonable JavaScript runtime. It just doesn't work. And people are really hesitant to upgrade. Likewise, I think it is a bad decision to say we're going to build this software that works just in a single browser. Because then, number one, you kind of lock people into this version, which makes it more vulnerable. And I don't know what the ramifications are for a software company if you're the responsible party for, we still use Internet Explorer 8 because we had the software that was built for it, but then it ended up, our systems are compromised, and now we have all these data breach issues.
Yeah, you can sue that person. Well, I think we talked about, it was either last week or the week before, with Don, we were talking about one of the other big browsers moving over to the Chromium kind of back end.
I think it was Edge.
It was Edge, right?
Yeah, I think Edge. There was some weird toss-up, like people were like, no, we're just working on Chromium, but I think they are moving to a Chromium-based a browser solution.
And I wonder if there is that point then where Microsoft says, hey, we're not supporting Internet Explorer anymore, because it's already, you have to hunt for it in the latest versions of Windows, right? You've got to dig and say, I got to find this, because if you just open, browse the internet, you're getting Edge, right?
Yeah, you're getting Edge on new installs, and I'm not a huge Windows user anymore. I remember at one point where I tried to remove Internet Explorer from Windows and use, it was probably Netscape or early versions of Google Chrome or something. I was like, I don't want Internet Explorer anywhere. Really wrecked my computer, because underlying the File Explorer for looking around in your computer, some of that's shared between Internet Explorer and the File Explorer. So to some extent, you still have Internet Explorer because there's other parts of that are being used within this. That's my understanding, at least. But yeah, if you go double-click or click on a link out of an email, you're going to get Edge if you haven't changed your default browser settings.
Yeah, and hopefully they're just paving the way for that. But they know, too, that there's a lot of systems that run that are exclusively optimized for Explorer. So if they would face a lot of backlash. They're not like Apple, where they just say, hey, I know we're going to face a lot of backlash if we get rid of all USB ports or regular USB ports on your PC, but Hey, too bad. Oh, you like headphones?
That's
too bad.
That's tough. You like physical function keys? That's also too bad. I know you can get that option.
Yeah,
right.
but that's not Microsoft's
You
MO
have to
then.
go
Yeah.
like search for it in the Apple Store. You're like, no, I want the one with physical keys. I want an escape key. And to some extent, when they're moving over to that Chromium browser with Edge, this is a good time where if you have these companies kind of using a base platform to build upon, I think we end up with more secure software as far as the browser is concerned, more performance software, right? Because now if Microsoft and Google are both working on Chromium, then you have a lot more people power to fix bugs, identify security concerns, those type things. So hopefully that is some good that'll come out of that. But I'm just kind of posturing there to some extent.
Is Firefox on Chromium too? Or is that its own thing?
Firefox actually uses their own. So the Mozilla Foundation, which spurred out of Netscape, that's what they're known for. That's what they do is Firefox, and I don't use Thunderbird. I think Thunderbird's still available to some extent. But yeah, I don't think they use a Chromium runtime. I think they have a Chromium base. I think,
but it's definitely more similar than when you're trying to do. I mean, I think of the fact that we redesigned our website here at ITProTV this year on the consumer site, and just so much of that time was taken addressing browser issues. And if that time is no longer needed, companies are going to get sites up quicker. They're going to save money. They're going to trickle down and pass that savings on to the customer, I'm sure. And, gives you time to free up and have your development team working on other things that can make that experience better. So it's all good news if we can do stuff like that, I think. Speaking of good news, we didn't want to just give you all the terrible news from Microsoft this week. There's actually some good news out there, and this one is over on ZDNet. Microsoft officially announces Windows Sandbox for running applications in isolation. So Microsoft's coming Windows Sandbox feature. It's a lightweight virtual machine that allows users to run potentially suspicious software in isolation. Could debut in Windows 10, 19H1. So why would I want to use something like this as opposed to just firing up a virtual machine? Are there things that I can still break doing that?
Well, I think this is making it accessible because there's times where if I need to run something, I'll fire up a virtual machine, or I'll even create like a VM in AWS or Azure to say, I'm going to test this because if things go horribly awry, I can just kind of destroy it. However, I don't think that's not the MO of most people. I can say for sure my parents, if it was a run this in this sandbox environment, and I could show them that, and it would take care of all of that, right? The user experience for that, if you lower the barrier to entry, then maybe you can add some safety. But I can't imagine describing to my mom, all right, now you need to install VMware or VirtualBox. Oh, you need to get this ISO. All right, now double click here, set the RAM and disk usage appropriately. Oh, now you have a window. Now you got to mount that shared folder. Well, if it's just a one-click thing, it might be something that you can start telling people, hey, if you're worried about where this application come from, or you downloaded it, or it seems legit, like let's say I get an email from you, or it appears to be from you, and you're like, it's a zip file, but is it right? What's going on? Put it in this VM. Boom, fire it off, see what happens, and then hopefully that VM has some way of detecting, hey, is this malicious? Or you can just get rid of the environment. That's kind of how I view it.
So I can finally click on all those links and find out if they actually do have those photos of me?
No, I don't know if I would click on links out of email. Just so we're clear, I'm not advocating for clicking on random links or downloading things. But I know, like when you package up software and you go to open it, especially on Macs right now, on Apple computers, it'll say the first time, hey, the developer didn't sign this with like a certificate, right? Do you sure you want to open this? We don't know who it's from. And so you have to select that. You have to bypass that security. That would be something if you didn't know who it was from, or if it was unsigned, maybe that's even a default feature that comes along. And I'm not saying that's what's happening here, but I could see that the first run is tested out in the sandbox, and then it goes, oh, everything looks good. Now we're going to run it normally.
Move it over to, that'd be nice if they actually build that into the pop-up that lets you know.
Instead of yes or no, like run in sandbox or something like that. That would be nice. I'm not saying, I don't know how that's going to come out. Probably not the initial releases would be my guess.
Well, we'll definitely keep an eye on this story and look back when that does come out. I'm not sure if it lists an exact time of when that release is expected, but definitely something. Maybe we'll get Cherokee or Mike in here and dig into it a little bit when that comes up. They're some of our Windows experts, and Ronnie, some of those. So we'll take a look at that. But now let's shift gears a little bit to another tech giant that. Well, they had some problems this week too. It's not a good week to be a tech giant, I guess. But they're also selling millions of these Alexas right now, so I don't feel too bad for them. But this on Reuters, Reuters.com, Amazon error allowed Alexa user to eavesdrop on another home. So this one's interesting. It turns out a guy in Germany basically wanted to go back and see the recordings that Amazon had of him and found something like 1,700 audio files from a stranger as well with his data. I don't even know if he got his own data in there as well, but he got data from others. So it says it was human error that led to this, which I don't know if that makes me feel better or worse, that it's not something that's baked into the code.
That's one of those things where in the article it's in human error, and you go, is there just a bunch of people hanging out at Amazon going, well, they recorded that. I need to drop this in this folder. It seems like that would be an automated thing.
Yeah, I'd rather not know a human was listening to all the things.
Yeah. What is going? Oh, yeah, we got to put this over here. Where did I put those? Yeah. I've lost those audio files.
So is it actually just a woman at Amazon answering it? Yeah, I'll turn the lights on for you, Peter.
She is very efficient.
She really is.
She really. Quick. And this is one of those things that freaks me out because we have a little Echo Dot. I'm not big on all these home integrations, at least not yet. But periodically, ours will come on. I don't know if it's my southern drawl or what. I'll say something, and she goes, "No, I didn't understand that." And I'm like, "I wasn't talking to you." So I don't know if she's like recording those, and then Peter's going to get them later, and he's going to go, "Justin is saying all kinds of crazy stuff."
Well, I do believe they record those mistakes, especially so they can send them back and figure out how to make it better. But they're just basically at my house, it'll just be them going, "Oh, that was the TV again."
Yeah,
that was
happens
that commercial
all the time. An Alexa commercial, and you're like, "No,
shut up,
not you, not you."
How many are we setting off right now?
Yeah, probably. If you're listening to this, you should probably make sure you're not near any Echo Dots or Alexa-enabled devices.
Order toilet paper. So I didn't know that you could actually request your history from them. Is that something you'd heard of before?
That's not something that but I don't use it a great deal. A little bit of music, maybe get like a flash briefing from a couple of things, but I'm not a heavy user of it, so it wouldn't have been something that I would have went out of my way. I really didn't know you could do that either. But now it makes me want. I'm going to probably go home and say, "Hey, Alexa, record this," and see. Like, does that happen? Can I record?
I don't
like
think
memos?
You have to tell her to record. She's got, "Oh yeah, I'll start now," Justin. Yeah, I'm gonna go back though, and I want to see if that's something that's available to everyone. Because if it is, I don't think it's really that public that's available. But I guess it's your data, so it's just like you can go download all your data from Facebook that everyone was doing when they found out about some of those privacy things going on, and I know you can see what data Google has in you and those places. So I'm sure that would be something that exists. But the interesting thing is that once he notified Amazon, which apparently took a few tries and wasn't that easy, he went back in and all those audio files were gone, and they were just kind of like, "No, that didn't happen." But he had already saved them to go, "Well, yeah, I have these." So,
yeah. You mean he didn't ask Alexa to contact Amazon for him?
Yeah. Alexa, call Jeff Bezos and let him know that.
Yeah, I need 2 minutes of his time.
We've got an issue here.
Yeah.
He's going to want to hear about this one, and I'm sure he did. But that's what's going on over at Alexa. So if you don't have one yet, and there's one under the Christmas tree, just be careful what you say around her.
Yep,
she's listening. All right, our next story also on ZDNet. This is a fun one. Hack the Air Force Bug Hunting Challenge uncovers 120 flaws in websites and services. And on its face, you could look at that and go, "Well, that's not good. 120 flaws." But this is to me an example of somebody doing it the right way and going out and finding out these things the good way. You don't know that these 120 flaws weren't already found by other people that didn't tell the Air Force, but they paid out over $130,000 to hackers for spotting these flaws. So, have you ever done one of those?
I haven't done a bug bounty yet.
Yeah.
I've thought about trying my hand at a bug bounty. I just haven't set aside the time. But $130,000 sounds like a lot of money. I mean, it is a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
However, that number of flaws, what was it, 120 flaws?
Yeah.
If those were exploits that could have been used to gain access, then the possible like monetary value of like a data breach or something like that
Or if I get one drone.
yeah, far beyond 130,000. Like I took over what is an F-16 plane, or well, look at this. This is my new battleship. So I don't think those are connected necessarily to all of the same networks. But you know, this is also something that I read about the bug bounty for the Air Force, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. They're calling for you to try to hack them, and if they know about it and they're asking for it and they're going to give you money for it, it's uncovering errors. It's maybe giving you an outlet for honing your skills if you're one of those professionals, and it ultimately makes them safer. So I'm surprised I don't see more companies kind of doing this, or more entities necessarily.
Well, we talked to a company when we went to the B-Sides Las Vegas show back, I want to say August, out there in Vegas. HackerOne was one of the sponsors there, and I believe Daniel Lowry did an interview with them that we featured on here. But they're a company that kind of facilitates that for you. So the Air Force doesn't have to just go right to the public and say, we want to do this. They go through HackerOne. They kind of do some of the validation of these errors, and they have a network of people that they're able to put it out to, so it gets the word out. And actually, looking down here now, it looks like that is who they used here. Well, it's talking about an earlier one, but it says the DoD's first ever bug bounty challenge was Hack the Pentagon, launched in 2016. Since then, more than 5,000 bugs have been reported on government systems through HackerOne, with over 500,000 paid to hackers who reported those flaws. So, HackerOne, if that's something you haven't checked out before, do check that out. If it's something you're looking to get started in, they have a lot of those bug bounty programs that they list and can kind of help you get started and become a hacker for hire, which is the dream of all hackers.
Yeah, it's the dream, right? A lot of money, travel around the world.
In your battleship.
In your battleship that you commandeered. Like, this is mine. So it is. But HackerOne is accessible to most people. It's kind of that nexus. I've looked through HackerOne bugs before, and that's one of those things where you go, that's going to take a lot of time for me to dig in and see what's going on. But definitely check that out. It gives you an interesting, at least an array of ideas. Be like, oh, I didn't even know that was an issue, right? I didn't know that cross-site scripting on this site was possible, or something like that. And so it'll at least give you some background knowledge, but, see if you can find some bugs, maybe fix some bugs if it's open source projects or something like that. It's I suspect, this is me, a prediction, if you will, I suspect this will become more commonplace. You're kind of crowdsourcing your security team to some extent.
Yeah, definitely, and it's important to only hack those that are asking to be hacked. We should put that PSA out there, or hack your own systems if you want to do a little pen testing there. But I have HackerOne's site here now. It looks like they've worked with GM, Starbucks, Spotify, all kinds of big names. But yeah, definitely the U.S. government being there is interesting too. So we'll go ahead and suggest you go back and find that podcast we did with them. Maybe we'll post a little link to that, and you can check that out as well. But a pretty cool program. All right. Wow, you're not going to believe it. More bad news. We've got. We've been talking about a bad week for a couple people. This is more of a bad year. I read that Zuckerberg lost $15 billion this year, the most of anyone on the billionaires.
But is he still a billionaire?
He's still a many times billionaire.
Whatever.
Yeah,
I could probably
just 15.
But this is kind of embroiled. I know Facebook had an issue, actually a couple of issues in the past week. They exposed some individuals' photos through the photo API. Actually, I think from what I was reading, one of the bigger issues with that, they didn't report it in the appropriate amount of time based on GDPR.
Yeah, that could be. That's a big fine. GDPR.
Yeah. Okay. I get that acronym mixed up. Yeah. But then this one, it seems like they're just sharing our data with certain companies and organizations. And things.
This one's over on the New York Times. They broke this. As Facebook raised a privacy wall, it carved an opening for tech giants. So basically, this is saying that things that were private to or shown as private to a lot of people, they were actually just kind of leaving open for sponsors and people who were using that data. Is that, am I understanding that right?
It's odd. So based on this article, if you read it down a little further, we're talking about HackerOne.
Hey.
Spotify was on there. So Spotify, Netflix, the Royal Bank of Canada could read, write, and delete users' private messages. So that you're like, oh, well, let me message Peter real quick. I got to ask him something. And now there's corporations looking at that information. And not only that, they could see like friends of friends, even without. But that was some of the Cambridge Analytica stuff way back when, right? So having that data to kind of sculpt the message that's sent to you, either through advertisings or things like that, I don't know, you might be all right with that. Personally, if I have an expectation of privacy, there's some odd things there, right? They're monetizing data that you didn't know that you were necessarily giving up.
So that's why I never got that Pandora playlist from you, because Spotify is like, nope, you're not getting that, Peter.
Pandora, what's that? They just erased it from all of my history.
Yeah, Pandora does not exist anymore.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that they could write and delete messages, like those companies listed there. Like, somebody said something about Spotify. Let me modify that message before anybody finds it. Now, I'm not saying this happened, but the power is there, right? That's not so good.
Yeah, and I wonder if that was intentional, or if they wanted to give them certain things and that was just a mistake. Because I can't think of a possible use case scenario where you would want to have any third party, much less a huge company, have the ability to delete or modify messages.
Yeah, maybe it's based on how their marketing platform works, right? I mean, Facebook is a marketing company, right? They're a marketing agency, effectively. That's how they make money. Correct me if I'm wrong, Peter. You probably have a better idea of that than I do.
Yeah, they say they're a social network, but we all know that they are a data company.
And that's true for other big tech giants, right? That's part of their monetization. I don't know why you'd want read. I can understand read, right? If you have Spotify like a recommendation engine, right, and you come up, hey, this is playlist for you. They're recommending songs on a radio. If they're reading conversations about music with a friend, they could further adjust your choice, right? They could do sentiment analysis or something of that nature. The only thing I can think of is maybe you pay additional monies, to modify, so maybe there's not bad press going around, no bad word of mouth. I don't know if that happened. And I will say in the article, there are a couple of these companies that dispute. They say, hey, that never happened. We didn't do this.
Or even if we had this access, it wasn't something that
we
were
indulged
using.
in.
Yeah.
So, the companies that we talked about, I'm not saying that they did any of those things, but it appears that it is a capability that is supposedly there.
Yeah, and we've got, speaking of playlists, it reminded me while you were saying this, we actually just launched some holiday, well, they're not holiday playlists. As a holiday thing, we put out some fun playlists from all of our edutainers. Let me zoom this in here. Is it what it, command? Yeah, there we go. So each of our edutainers at ITProTV let us know what their favorite jams were when they are studying. We've got Justin's here, and big CeeLo Green fan. We found out.
Yeah.
I put the CeeLo Green thing in his description here. He's like, I don't have any CeeLo Green on my playlist, and sure enough,
Yeah, he was a featured artist in another artist's song. But I'll give him that. CeeLo Green was on there. I don't even think that particular song. I don't even think of CeeLo Green being on there.
No,
That's not anything against CeeLo Green.
he's a producer too, I think.
Yeah,
so
he is also
could
a
have
producer.
just been involved. But yeah, head over to the ITProTV blog, itpro.tv/blog, or actually blog.itpro.tv, and it's one of the recent stories here, the edutainers' greatest hits. So that's a lot of fun when you're studying.
I do want to reemphasize, these are not holiday tracks.
Not at all.
We have a varied taste in music, and there are a few of them that may have a parental advisory. So definitely check those out as well. Spotify marks all of those songs as explicit or whatever. So.
Yeah, it marked most of the playlists.
Yeah, they're like, this bad.
Not for kids. Yeah,
not for children.
So yeah, Raining Blood's not a great song for the kids.
It's not.
But it's always what we listen to around the Christmas tree.
Yep.
All right, a couple last stories we wanted to share with you. A couple fun ones, actually. This one on 9to5google.com. Apple Music account tweets using Twitter for Android. So again, that's Apple Music using Twitter for Android, which you assume this always is like the intern, and so it's the intern's got his Android phone, which I don't understand why he's working at Apple Music if he does, but you got to remember that stuff's listed on the tweet right there.
Well, maybe he likes Apple Music, but he really likes the Twitter Android app. So maybe there is a mix there. But this is something that I've always thought funny. You watch various conference talks, and someone from Microsoft or someone from Google will get up and go, all right, now I'm going to show you some things from my computer, and they open up a Mac. And you go, well, hold on a second. There's something wrong with this picture. Or I don't know if I've seen any Apple employees open up a PC, but I have seen a bunch of other Google or Microsoft employees who have Apple computers who that's what they do their work on. Now they may be running VMs or whatever, but I don't know if that's necessarily frowned upon. But it is an odd thing to see. Android tweet.
Exactly. I know one tweet I've seen going around is from someone saying, "Hey, I lost my phone. Everybody, what a terrible day," and it's sent from mobile. Things like that. But what your story makes me think about, I used to go out to Microsoft a lot at my old company. We were working with them, and that was when the Windows Phone, they were really pushing it. And boy, there were some people, if you had an iPhone in a meeting, you're kicked out basically. And there's other people where that, they'd put their Windows Phone on the desk, and in their pocket is the iPhone, because you had to have this as your pass to get in basically. But there's superior tech sometimes.
I would think at some of these tech companies, like Apple in particular, if you're like, hey, you're going to work in the Apple Music team, if your job is social media, wouldn't they normally give them a device and say you're going to use an Apple device?
You would think, and you'd think they'd give you all the devices so you can test, the platform and things. But when it comes to tweeting from the corporate account, you're probably going to want to stick with that main phone they handed you.
Just don't use mobile. Just don't use. Yeah, just always use a desktop computer
from Windows.
From Windows.
All right, and this last story today, just one more to get to, just really made me smile. We talked last week with Don. We talked about package thieves around the holidays, and there were some stories about people using kind of the explosive, shotgun shells and things that make a big boom on your porch, and using Ring cameras and things like that, and what's kind of legal and what isn't. But one guy got fed up, and he actually happens to be a NASA engineer, so he over-engineered the heck out of this thing. He made a glitter bomb package to thwart parcel thieves, and this is one of the most satisfying gifts that I've seen in a long time. Hopefully that's coming through for you guys that are watching the video version of this. But basically it's an Apple HomePod. Is that what it's called? Or is it the Google HomePod?
No, that's a Google Home.
It's
Apple. It's the Apple Home
thingy.
Yeah,
with the speaker. But he used that box, and basically you open this thing up, and it has a massive amount of this fine particles of glitter that shoot out at you and everything around you, and will be there for years to come. It has a fart spray inside that then goes off a few seconds later, which is great. And then it actually has 4 cameras in there, all with active LTE, so it can be sending back location data. And even if the package gets destroyed, then it has sent back the video to the cloud already. So the funny thing is, most people threw this thing out the window, but it's probably worth more than the Apple thing, because you've got 4 phones in this thing.
I was watching the video, and it is crazy over-engineered. Yeah. Right? It's I'll be honest with you. What's inside there to catch a thief is probably, like you said, worth way more, because on all 4 sides there's an active. I think it's an iPhone. From what I saw,
he's got. We've got this little video here we can have going while you're talking. But he's got the 4 phones in there. That might be Android, but but still.
Either way, he's got 4 smartphones that are active, so they can report data, and he has the cameras going. I mean, that's a chunk of money. It is funny, and if you've ever tried to clean up glitter, just normal glitter for maybe some kind of little project, It's never coming. I still find glitter. You're like, where'd this come? Oh yeah, that's from that card. Um, the fart spray. Have you ever smelled that stuff?
I have not. Thankfully.
It is rancid. I had earlier on in my early 20s, there were a couple of people who had that, and they would just randomly tss, and just like kind of walk away. And I mean, it is putrid. So it's kind of like insult to injury, I guess. I don't know if you're injured by glitter, but yeah, I don't know if you'd be stealing any more packages.
Well, one of my favorite parts here too is that he actually used Kevin McAllister from Home Alone as the return address, and Harry and Marv, the Wet Bandits, as the two. If anyone ever takes it, I don't think they really look when they're stealing the packages off the porch, but if they had, they might have been tipped off by that.
And this actually brings up, maybe one of those. Have you ever heard you shouldn't put the boxes when you get these, like your Apple Home stuff?
Oh, like put them out in the recycle bin.
Yeah,
so
put them out in the
see.
recycle bin.
Yeah.
So I would be, if you're having things delivered, maybe you don't want to put over $1,000 worth of smartphones in a box that shoots glitter, or maybe you do. But just kind of be careful. Keep your eye out. Maybe have a neighbor if you're going to go out of town or something like that.
Well, this guy has 37 million views on this video so far. So from a monetization standpoint, I think he's recouped that. And I've seen a couple of his other videos before. Actually, I realized after the fact, I watched one he did on carnival games of how they're hacked or how they're basically scams and why. And he gets into a lot of the science, which is kind of fun. But that had multiple millions of views as well. But
I wonder if this is something where maybe him or a family member experienced that he was like, what happened? Why did he build this?
He had something stolen and contacted local police, and he had the Ring doorbell video footage and was able to say, hey, here's this guy, here's his car, and here's him. And the police said it's really not something that we can follow up on. We don't have the time to in his area or whatever it was. So he said, okay, fine, I'll take this into my own hands. And I think, yeah, it's completely over the top. But
and that's how vigilantism gets a little out of hand. Next thing you know, he's dressed up like a bat and running around at night. And he built the Batmobile.
It looks like he could afford it.
It looks like that. Yeah. It's going to be horribly over-engineered yet again. But I guess that was Bruce Wayne's shtick, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, if you haven't had a chance to check this one out yet, definitely go. Just go over to YouTube, honestly, and search. It's called "Package Thief versus Glitter Bomb Trap," and it's a 10-minute video, but it's really cool if you're into DIY kind of maker stuff. It's really neat just to see how he created it, and then obviously stick around to see the people that were caught up in it. And he gets the box back. I mean, he's got the GPS from the phones, and he actually set up a geofence so it doesn't go off until it's been taken out of the geofence, until the accelerometer goes off, and the little clips that he's got set up so when you open the box, show that the box has been opened. So, the thing travels miles away, and then he gets an alert on his phone and is able to go find it multiple times and actually share it with his friends to use as well. So, a lot of great stories. The best one to me is the guy that's going, well, my girlfriend's going to see all the glitter in this car now. I'm in trouble.
It is really hard to explain glitter in any believable way, right?
No, I wasn't with a girl. I'm a thief.
Yeah, I was stealing from porches.
I'm a horrible human being. That's all. But I'm not a cheater.
Yeah, totally different things. Yeah. If you decide to do something similar, you and Don said that you talked about like what is legal.
Yeah.
So do be careful there. This is kind of a fun little thing. If you cause injury, you're probably going to be legally liable. I feel compelled to say that.
Sure, but send us the video as well. Yeah. We'll feature it right here. As local laws allow. All right, well, that's pretty much going to do it for us, unless you got anything else to talk about, anything that's on your mind. I know Don's big prediction we've talked about in the past for 2018 was that Windows would put out their own distro of Linux. So do you want to go on record at all as we wrap up 2018? You're big in the developer community. What's coming?
It was funny. Right before I walked in here, I made a comment similar to that. I'm like, I can't wait for Windows Linux to be a thing so I can just get things going. It may happen. It may happen. I'm going to go with within the next year. Are we talking within the next year, 2019?
Yeah.
My big prediction for 2019. Yeah, I'll go ahead and go with Don on this one. I'll see Windows, Linux, or Microsoft Linux
All right,
coming out.
Mark it down that Justin has gone out on a limb with Don.
It's luckily it's a giant sequoia limb.
It's a big tree.
Otherwise, it would end
All right,
poorly.
well,
for us.
didn't work out for Don this year, and hopefully it does next year.
What about your prediction for 2019?
Well, this one I'm hoping comes true also for Don. It's something that he's wanted but hasn't really predicted again because I think he's been burned so many times. But that we see that phone-computer hybrid finally come true for him, where you've got this phone that you can just plug into the keyboard and screen, and it's got everything there, but it's all just one device. I think we're getting closer and closer, and I know that we're seeing some convergences with the mobile operating systems and the PC desktop operating systems.
And there has been similar devices
There's been
like
bad
that.
ones.
Yeah. That's the key point there. There have been bad ones.
And Don has bought every single one of them, going, "This is the one."
Yeah.
Oh, this is horrible.
This is not the one.
Yeah, there's a graveyard there. There's a drawer in the back. It's got 4 or 5 of these phablet Frankenstein things where you slide a phone in here and it just doesn't work. So I think it's going to be the phone is going to pop in into the touchpad area, and it's going to be your mouse and going to control.
You might be onto something. Maybe you should go ahead and do some product development on that.
Well, when I'm done making my glitter bomb.
Yeah, well, that's important. You should go ahead and get started on that though, because you got to accumulate 4 LTE enabled phones first.
Well, I've got all those old tablet PCs that I can take from back there, so I'll just use those.
Yeah.
But
Don, I'm commandeering these. I mean, they're not great devices necessarily, but they'll take images and they'll send me GPS.
That's all I need.
Information whenever someone steals this package from my porch.
Tape up all the ports so that no glitter gets in there, because that would really mess things up. All right, well, that's going to do it for us. But before we let you go, we want to let you know about a couple of things that are important to you and would help us out and help you out. First of all, we've got a lot of webinars that we do here at ITProTV, so definitely want to check those out. We've got a few coming up in January, but we also have an archive with all of the past webinars that we've done. You can check out as well and get a lot of great info. I know you've done a couple for us. What was the one you just did?
So me and Don did top 5 DevOps blunders.
That was a good one.
And then we kind of my top 5 cool tips for AWS to get things up and going. It definitely developer centric in that regard. If Don had done the same webinar, he would have had a different outlook. But
definitely,
we have some great information. We got some. I think Joe's done a couple, and Adam just did one on phishing, how to protect yourself against phishing and being aware of that, which is, it's real easy. I actually get phishing text messages a lot.
It's gotten bad.
Yeah.
It's gotten really bad. I know there's some legislation out there right now, and I think some of these companies are seeing that coming, and so I guess phishing isn't really from companies, but a lot about the robocalls and things. But I think they're trying to get as many as they can in before some new laws come out. But you want to check out itpro.tv/webinars, where you'll find out all this information. And the next one we do have is January 17th. So that'll be kicking off the new year for us with Joe Peacock talking about the 10 must-have skills for leadership in IT. It's Thursday, January 17th at 2 p.m. So itpro.tv/webinars. Check that out for sure. We also have an offer for all of you out there watching. We've got a 30% off code and some information about demos and team pricing that you'll definitely want to check out as well. And that code is good for the lifetime of your subscription. So as you continue to resubscribe, as you will, because it's great content, you'll get that price long after that price has been no longer valid for everyone else. So definitely take advantage of that. And thank you all for sticking with us this week, and had a lot of fun news and a lot of fun stuff to talk about with
fun
Justin
bad
here.
news.
Yeah, fun bad news. Fun for us. Not
we
for
laughed,
stockholders.
had a great time. It was not good for a few of these companies though.
Yeah.
End of the year, maybe it's just we're saving up all the bad news, putting it out. That way, people are maybe they're having a good time with families and they don't read it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, well, hopefully 2019 is better for you and better for all these companies, and it's all looking up from here, right?
Yeah. I mean, January 1st, start anew, right? Just keep moving forward, and I can't wait to see that Microsoft Linux.
Well, thank you for joining us on the all-ginger version of the Technado, and we will see you next time.
Are you enjoying Technado? Then be sure to check out our other podcast, Ask Me Anything, where our subject matter experts answer your questions. Here's the latest episode, and here's the full playlist. And as always, be sure to subscribe to ITProTV's channel. ITProTV!